Welcome to In Conversation, folks. We come to you from Washington, D.C. My name is Ramesh
And I'm Aastha Verma.
The Nuclear Security Summit is starting here in Washington, D.C. on April 12th and 13th. And I want to tell you, prime ministers and presidents will be coming to Washington, D.C.
I know, isn't that great?
I don't think so. I think the traffic will be a mess. In fact, they're starting to lock down the streets starting today. I mean, this thing is going to be worse than the World Bank week. But we look forward to it. We absolutely like foreign money coming in. They're going to spend it. I just wish sometimes that they will hold their meetings after 9 o'clock at night.
Well, you know, D.C. is a beautiful city, especially in the springtime when you have the cherry blossoms and you have just all the trees in bloom. D.C., I think, shines in the springtime more than any other season.
That is true, and I'm sure that's why they're having a meeting here. On the eve of this summit, President Obama has announced that he will not order a nuclear attack on any country that has no nuclear weapons and or is a member of the NPT.
Which is the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which,
That's
interestingly enough, India did not sign.
India did not sign, but India has already met with the administration officials. Nirupama Roy, who's the Secretary of Foreign Affairs in India, she actually came down here earlier to say that, look, just like you guys got World Bank, let's have the Nuclear Security Committee right there in New Delhi, India. So it's a good play, and hopefully the entire summit will vote for it, I guess. You know.
I don't know. It's a tricky place for India to be. On the one hand, it rejects being in the Non-Proliferation Treaty. On the other hand, it wants to be the host nation for this nuclear security center. It just, you wonder what will the rest of the participants think? Why should they agree to have this center in India when their own nation, who participate in this treaty, could be the logical place for such a center to exist? I think it's a nice try for India to play that role. I wonder if they're going to get lucky enough to have it.
Oh, well, you probably are right. A lot of the other nations will probably compete for that. You know.
They should, but I think it's a brilliant move for India to try to win this center, because think about where it sits in India. It's in that very sort of politically turmoil-ridden region. You've got China, which is a bigger presence every day. You have Iran and Afghanistan and Pakistan right next door. So you've got all these countries that sometimes can be volatile nations. So if you have India, which is a very stable country in respect to all that, then I think it does make sense to have a presence, and regionally it might make sense.
I don't know about that, but I want to tell you, the week after that summit, there's going to be World Bank Summit, and that's where all the bankers will be in town. They also spend a good chunk of money, but same thing, traffic just does not work here in D.C. And a lot of people come from outside to do demonstrations. There are going to be a lot of demonstrations for the nuclear summit. There are going to be a lot of demonstrations for the bank summit.
It goes to show you that D.C. really does need a public transport system. And Metro just isn't cutting it. I mean, it's not just all the accidents and incidents that have happened with Metro. The system itself is just not big enough to scale the way it needs to. Yes, you have a lot of new development going out to Dulles Airport and so forth, but the city should have been planning for this years ago. This is prime opportunity when you have a stimulus bill. In your nation's capital, you're trying to invite these types of heads of state. Your infrastructure should really be ready to handle it. And I think other cities in the world do this better than D.C.
It will. They are working on it. In fact, Mayor Fenty has this transportation plan where he's bringing in trams. And, of course, the rest of the public is saying, instead of bringing in trams, how about just running these big buses that are so liked by everyone and just run them on the streets, you know. They're not for the commuters from Maryland or Virginia. They're for the local residents and the local businesses.
Well, now you have clean energy, too, so these buses aren't polluting the environment the way that they used to. But I'm curious, you know, this was also a big week for Mayor Fenty in that he just found out he'll be competing with Vincent Gray, who has decided to leave his council chairman's seat and go after Fenty's position. Well, and then, of course, backfilling him would be Kwame Brown. What do you think of, you're into D.C. politics a little bit. What's your thought on how this is evolving? I think Mayor Fenty, he's been on shaky ground lately. This is going to be interesting.
But he's a native son. You got to remember. I mean, sometimes he's allowed to make mistakes. He's a little arrogant, of course. And when you are as good as he is, and what he's been able to do in a short span of time, it's very hard to be humble. And that's what his problem is. And I personally think, even though I love Chairman Gray, I really think he's in a fantastic situation, but he wants to take that risk. You go to a casino, folks, you never say, I'm all in. And Chairman Gray is all in, because if he does not make it, he loses chairmanship, which everybody likes him in that position. So he is taking a chance. Only the campaign will tell as to how successful he will be. He's always been successful in his life, but at the same time, competing against a 39-year-old mayor who has really done a tremendous thing in the last 4 years, is going to be an uphill battle. But I will support him too.
Well, it just pits the mayor against the council once again. This election year will be very interesting because you have city residents who are split. Mayor Fenty used to have a lot of support in the city, but he's lost a lot of that support. In fact, he's lost it not just with the white constituents, but with the black constituents, who I think have seen that arrogance and have put more faith and confidence in the council as a result versus in the mayorship. So, D.C.'s place for politics, but for once I think D.C. politics itself will be very interesting.
Yes, it will be. And of course, Kwame Brown versus Jack Evans for the seat of